This is Michael Woodward, and this is Season 3, Episode 228 of the jumbleThink podcast.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to jumbleThink, where we interview amazing people about their journey of turning dreams and ideas into reality. Along the way, we're going to share some tips on how you can turn your own dreams and ideas into reality too. Today's episode is super filled. We are giving you an update on exciting things happening at jumbleThink. We're talking about upcoming guests and why you need to listen. And then we are diving into the power of perseverance. It's something very real to me, something I'm personally dealing with, and I'm excited to share that story and some tips for you. As you can see, we've got a lot to cover, so let's jump into today's episode and start the conversation right off with some updates on jumbleThink. Hey there, welcome to jumbleThink. My name is Michael Woodward. I am your host. Later on, we're going to be talking about the power of perseverance. But first, to kick this off, this episode, we're going to talk about exciting news happening at jumbleThink. One of the things we are super excited about is our idea camps. Now, if you've heard about idea camps, it's coming in October 7th through 9th. You know and may have seen what it's all about. Well, I'm excited to announce that we've been listening to those people who are attending and wanted to attend. We've made some big changes. It's still a 3-day event, but the 3-day event is now broken into 3 sections: a networking dinner the night before, idea camp, which is an all-day event, and then on the 3rd day, a mastermind session. You can choose to come to one or all of the days of the event. We've also done some massive changes to the pricing structure. Before, it was not cheap. It was $1,900 to $3,000. And for a lot of people, we were getting feedback that they wanted to come, but it was simply too expensive. Well, tickets now start at $99 and go up to $400. And there are options for everyone to be involved with this event. We've got some cool things lined up for it. Well, what is an idea camp? Have you ever had an idea and dream and you were stuck? You didn't know what the next steps were to take to make that a reality. Well, idea camps are all about helping you create the roadmap to turn those dreams and ideas into reality. The 3-day event is filled with sessions with leading thought leaders and speakers, workshops, mastermind groups, and fun activities to help you discover that the impossible isn't so impossible. And, for us, our passion is to help people turn those dreams and ideas into reality. One of the ways we do that, of course, is through this podcast, but Idea Camps is that extension. What are some of the things we're going to be talking about? We're going to be talking about what if your dream is possible, or why not make your dream and idea possible. We're going to be talking about your core strengths, your abilities, and how those play into building a team around you to create your dream and idea. We're going to have some panels with amazing entrepreneurs and people who have done this journey and made their dreams and ideas a reality. We're also going to be talking about communicating your idea, finding your audience, creating your tribe. We're going to be talking also about defining your dream and idea, micro experiments for rapid growth. We're going to be talking about building your team, working with mentors, coaches, employees, and partners. And we're also going to talk about moving past the idea, going from idea to reality, crafting a plan, and then ultimately crafting that business plan. And then we're going to leave you with an actionable roadmap for you to move that dream and idea forward. I know for me, I've been to hundreds of training events, conferences, summits, and other kind of events like this. And they were great. They inspired me. They challenged me. But when I left, I didn't have really an actionable process to make those changes in my life, to make the steps happen, to make those dreams and ideas a reality. Well, this event is different. You are going to get not only an actionable roadmap, but you're going to get a community around you to help support each other, hold you accountable, and walk through this journey of chasing dreams and ideas together. In the days and weeks ahead, we're going to be announcing some of our speakers. We're going to be announcing some other great things we're incorporating into this event. What do you need to do to find out more about this event and register? Well, it's simple to do. Head on over to jumblethink.com/ideacamps, jumblethink.com/ideacamps, and you can learn more about idea camps. You can get kind of the ground level description of what's going on, and we'll be posting a video next week about them and so much more in the weeks ahead. So go check that out, sign up for the event, and be a part of our first ever idea camps. It's going to change your life. It's going to be awesome, so you want to make sure to be there. Now, I hope you attend idea camps, but how would you like to make money off of idea camps? We would love to partner with you to help get the word out to your friends, your family members, coworkers, whoever else you think that this might be a great fit for. And we'd love to reward you for that support. It's often called a referral fee or an affiliate member, and we'd love to have you be a part of our team. So for each person you refer that signs up for idea camps, you will get a percentage of that sale, and they will get a small discount off the ticket price. If you want to learn more about our affiliate and referral fee for this and to potentially become part of our influencer network to get more people interested in this event, it's easy to do. Email me directly, mike@jumbleThink.com, mike@jumbleThink.com, and we'll start that conversation about how you can become part of our affiliate team to support this event and for you to make some money off of idea camps. Now, idea camps aren't the only exciting thing we have going on at jumbleThink. We have been working really hard to bring on incredible guests. Some of those are confirmed and ready to come on. Some of them are still working out those details, but I wanted to let you know about some of the guests that we have coming on. If you are interested in the world of education like I am and how we need to rethink how we teach our children, how we teach our college students, how we teach adults, we are having Dr. Aaron Smith on the podcast in the next couple weeks. He is going to share about education, what they're doing through STEM and STEAM down in Virginia. They have a cool school called the Aviation School. It's right on an airport. They're teaching students innovative ways to apply sciences, technology, engineering, and math into the process of creativity. And it's all hands-on. It's super cool. I'm excited to talk about his book. I'm excited to talk about redefining education in a modern society. That's going to be a lot of fun. We also have coming on the podcast on Tuesday, Adrian Schmidt. He is the co-founder and CEO of Bouquet. They have a product called Aristotle. Aristotle is allowing businesses and individuals to take their voice and interface with the data they have. Have you ever had a question about a spreadsheet or data? Maybe you're in retail and you go, how many pairs of jeans have we sold? How many pairs of jeans have we sold in the last year? Well, this is going to allow you, this tool, to interface that data by asking it questions and it giving you answers back. It's super cool. They've already brought it to market and it's changing the game of business. He's coming on Tuesday. You're going to want to check out that episode. In the next couple of weeks, we have some other amazing guests. We have Meb Keflezighi coming back on the podcast to talk about his book, 26 Marathons. He won the Boston Marathon and so much more. He's been a past guest, but we are going deeper into the conversation, so you're going to want to check that out. We also have Judy Robinette coming on. She is an expert in the world of funding for startups. She's written a book called Crack the Funding Code, How Investors Think and What They Need to Hear to Fund Your Startup. That is going to be a very powerful episode. Those two are coming up soon. We also have LeVar Burton coming on. We have some other amazing guests, people you're going to recognize and love coming on the podcast in the next 6 months. Well, what do you need to do to stay in the loop? Well, you should sign up for the JumbleThink newsletter. Head on over to jumblethinc.com. You can sign up for the newsletter there. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the updates on what's happening at JumbleThink. We are going to take a break right here, and in a moment, we're going to be back to talk about the power of perseverance. We are back, and in this segment, we are talking the power of perseverance. If you've been listening to the show for a while, you know on Tuesdays we launch our guest episodes, which are a lot of fun. On Fridays, we do One Tip Fridays. These are about topics or subject matter that will help you turn those dreams into reality. Over the last couple weeks, we've been doing a series called The Power Of. We talked about the power of community, the power of adventure, the power of wonder, the power of boredom. We even had 2 guest episodes that got into this, where we talked about the power of identity and the power of video. Today, of course, we are talking about the power of perseverance. I think that perseverance is underrated. It is something that we've lost the art of perseverance in our culture. We are the quick fix, immediate generation where we want the answers, we want the solution right away. If we are starting a business, we want to be a billionaire success in a year. If we are wanting to be an influencer, we want to post our first 3 Instagram photos and have 1 billion followers. Whatever it is that space is for you, you probably are like me and like so many other people where we think that the process is easy, that it's going to be quick, and that we're going to achieve our goals, our dreams, and ideas overnight. And the reality is that that's just not true. In these topical episodes, I always like to take a moment and define the word. That way we are all on the same page, talking the same lingo, knowing what we're all talking about. So today, perseverance is defined as persistence in doing something despite difficult or delay in achieving success. You can go one step further in saying persistence can be defined as the firm or obstinate continuance in a course of action in spite of difficulty or opposition. To be honest, when I looked up perseverance, that's not exactly the definition I expected. I don't know what I was expecting necessarily, but I love this definition. Persistence is doing something despite difficulty or delay in achieving success. And I think that the part that surprised me wasn't the difficulty or continuing on a path that is difficult. I think it was the delay in achieving success part that was surprising to me. When I think of perseverance, I think about doing something difficult and being relentless in the pursuit of getting to that goal that you're trying to achieve. I don't think about the delay in achieving success. I think about arriving at the goal, which I guess is a marker of success, but I see them a little bit different because perseverance to me seems like the act, not about the arrival. What really surprised me is that in the search and research that I did, there was a little graph with the word perseverance, and it talked about the use of the word perseverance. And what we find is in the 1800s through the 1850s, we see lots of mentions and uses of the word perseverance. And around the early 1900s, we begin to see a drop-off, a steady drop-off, almost like 5 to 10% of what the original usage of that word was culturally. And by the 1950s and 1990s, we see a significant decline in that word. And then somewhere around 2005, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, we start seeing that word become used a little bit more. Now, it probably only went up maybe 5%, if that. But it's interesting to me right around the recession that people started to see the value of perseverance. I was shocked to see that in the 1900s, in the 20th century, a significant drop-off of this word of perseverance from the 1800s. What really shocked me was that I think that was not just a drop in the word of perseverance, but that things culturally, things of dreams and ideas, the American dream, the prosperity dream became easier. It became easier to thrive and succeed. And I understand in the 1900s, everything wasn't roses and sunshine. We had the Great Depression. We had World War I. We had World War II. We had Vietnam. We had the recession of the early 1990s. There were a lot of really hard things, but overall, for most Americans, for many in the developed world, things were flourishing. Things were moving forward. And for one generation, it was easy, and for the next one, it was even easier. And that process, that journey of perseverance became not as significant because it wasn't as important. But here's the thing. When you are chasing ideas and dreams, perseverance is the marker of success. You will only get to success if you continue on the path towards those dreams and ideas. Now, I know some people say that you shouldn't chase your dreams and that ideas aren't worth pursuing. I disagree with that. I wholeheartedly disagree with that because I believe you're created for purpose. You should check that episode out, all about the created purpose. All that to say, I think that one of the reasons why we don't see people succeed is because they give up too early. They find that what the pursuit of the dream and idea looks like was dramatically different than what they expected. I know that this is true for my own journey. When I started out the podcast over 2 years ago, I thought within 6 months we would have 100,000 active subscribers. We'd be building this cult following, and people would be on board with this message of turning your dreams and ideas into reality. Now, I think a lot of people are interested in the message, but the problem is getting in front of the right people is much more difficult than it first seems to be. And to reach out to them, to have them listen and engage with the podcast and become part of our tribe is a conversion that we still are working on. We're still working hard to do. Earlier today, when I was going through my Facebook feed, I saw a little reminder pop up. It was a reminder of a post from 2 years ago. Now, if you remember, I just said we started the podcast just a little over 2 years ago. It would have been February of 2017. We had a guest on right around this time of year, actually, as of yesterday. That was Bill Sheft. Bill Sheft was a writer for Letterman and for President Obama and Sports Illustrated, and he's written novels, and the guy is brilliant. He was one of my 10 guests that I wanted on the podcast when I started the podcast. And he was the first big guest we landed on the podcast from the standpoint of people would readily know his work because he's worked on Letterman. He did a speech for President Obama that is from the Correspondents' Dinner. So his work is known and people know of him. Beyond that, I just love the story of late night because I'm a big Letterman fan. And so I wanted to interview someone from Letterman and hear the stories behind it. I also wanted to hear his stories of finding writing as a passion. Here's the deal that a lot of people don't know is that before we booked him, I had reached out to him probably 3 months before I heard back. And he was going through an interesting situation. That's another story for another time with loss and tragedy in his family. But all that to say, one night I get an email from him. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do the interview. Now, by then I had been doing the podcast probably for a couple months, probably 2 months. And I was like ecstatic because here was a guy I really wanted on the show. And he said, yes, I will be on your show. Now, what happened next was that we booked the interview, and the interview was booked out like a month from the time we had the initial contact, and that was fine. But that gave me a driving force forward. And then from there, I had to wait till the episode could go live because of other guests that we had already interviewed, and I wanted to wait for their episodes to go live, and then his would go live in the order we recorded them. All right, why is this important? Well, this is important because right before getting his email, I was so frustrated. I was frustrated with the fact that we weren't getting the numbers that we wanted. I was frustrated that I wasn't getting the feedback that I anticipated from people who were watching and listening, who were just as ecstatic about the podcast as I was. I was sad because friends and family that I thought would be big fans of this, they didn't have the time or the interest to listen to the podcast, and that's perfectly fine. And so my expectations, my hopes, my dreams were falling apart in many ways from my perception. And in that, I lost hope. I lost hope that we would reach the goals and dreams that we had for the show, that we would not be able to share this message with people who need to hear it. By the simple email that I got from Bill Sheft, and then by interviewing him and then having to wait to launch the episode, what happened, very simply, was that I had to persevere. I had a goal that now was tangible. It was no longer a disappointing goal that was not being reached, but a goal that was, I have this guest coming on. I'm super excited about this guest. And that drove me forward in this journey of persevering to make our dreams, my dreams and ideas, a reality. I wish I could say that that was the end of my disappointment, my feeling like I failed in that I wasn't reaching the goals and dreams that I had set out to achieve with the podcast, but that would not be true. That would be a lie. And so I would say this. That was just one story in a stream of events that helped keep me going, that helped me move forward from one moment of disappointment to a super high of excitement to another low of disappointment. I can think of other things that kept me driven. Last fall, I was invited to be a part of an event called New Media Summit, where I was one of the icons of influence. And right before that, I was feeling kind of down. I was seeing the success of some other people, or at least perceived success of others. And so I was kind of down. Hey, I'm not doing as well as they are. They're having these breakthroughs. I'm not. I'm a failure. They're a success. And so I started comparing myself. And by being invited to that event, it gave me hope to push through that summer, through the next couple months, to get to that event and be this icon of influence, which I didn't even see myself as an icon of influence. And so being invited to be a part of that and to share the journey of podcasting and to share our passion for dreams and ideas, it was another moment that caused me to push in and persevere. And it was shortly after that event, actually within a week or two, that we reached number 1 on the business charts on iTunes, and we reached number 1 on the careers chart, and we were number 10 on all podcasts on iTunes. And so all of a sudden there was this massive amount of success that we had been working for at this point almost 2 years since we had started planning. Well, actually over 2 years since we started planning the podcast and launching the podcast. And so here I am at another high moment of success. And I wish I could say that lasted, but over the next couple months, there were things that disappointed me, things that didn't work out the way I anticipated. And I felt again like a failure. And then we were invited to be a part of AM, FM 24/7 and be on 16 national radio stations back in February. And that was another moment of success and breakthrough and super high, super great, and reaching a whole different audience, reaching over 700,000 people a month now with this message, where a year ago we were reaching maybe 1,000 or 2,000 or in a good month 3,000 people in a month. And so that perseverance of pushing through the hard times and keeping on going even when things didn't look like they were working or coming together and my dreams and ideas were all falling apart, by keeping on with this power of perseverance, I was able to see small breakthroughs at first. Maybe it was that perfect guest that I wanted, or being invited to an event, or having people give feedback on an episode that they loved, or seeing huge numbers on an episode with a specific guest and being encouraged. Seeing those moments of encouragement through the process of disappointment and staying on that journey of perseverance led me to where I am today, which is speaking to more people and speaking to you specifically, that this journey is about the long journey, playing for the long game, not playing for the instant success. And in our culture, that is not a message that's wanted or accepted or embraced. And I want to encourage you right now, wherever you are in the journey of chasing your dreams and ideas, keep on persevering. You will see the breakthroughs and you will get there. We're going to take another break here, and in a moment, we're going to be back to go a little bit deeper into my story right now with where I am in this journey of perseverance. And I'm also going to give you some practical tips that have worked for me in the journey of turning dreams and ideas into reality by using the power of perseverance. We'll be right back. The heartbeat of jumbleThink is to help people turn their dreams and ideas into reality. One of the ways we do that is through the podcast. But we would love to connect with you further. So head on over to jumbleThink.com. You'll find a place where you can sign up for a newsletter. And while you're there, click one of those magical links to our social channels like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And let's become friends and continue this conversation. Chasing ideas and dreams is done better together. So let's do it together. Head on over to jumbleThink.com and let's connect. Now let's jump back into today's episode all about perseverance. We are back, and I am going deeper into this whole concept of perseverance and how you navigate it. I want to tell you where I'm at right now, and then we're going to jump into some tips to walk you through this process of perseverance. You know, I would love to say that once big things happen, that you just kind of settle in and you don't have to fight or work for forward progress anymore. Unfortunately, the more I talk to people, I was even talking to a friend of mine today, and they were sharing some of the challenges they have and how that evolves even though they are doing huge things in their space. We always face challenges. We always have to persevere. In good times and in bad times, perseverance is a powerful tool. So I shared a little bit about my past journey into podcasting and how that was a journey of perseverance for me. Now I want to talk about the pivot from one business model to another and how I'm persevering through that process. For over 12 years, I ran a web design and development agency. We worked with all kinds of customers, you know, the mom and pop businesses, nonprofits, corporations. We even worked with the .edu systems, the California CSU systems, did all kinds of different projects, and it was awesome. Well, around 2 years ago, I made the decision that I wanted to begin pivoting out of how I did web design and development and change the agency a little bit, eventually phase out of it completely. And I've been on that journey. And it's been a hard journey to go, hey, I've got one foot in the past in the web world, and I've got one foot in the future, that being podcasting and speaking and the events that we're putting on. And I know where we want to go as a company, where we want to take jumbleThink, but to make that transition is sometimes hard because what you're working on today for the future might not be paying the bills, and you've got to pay the bills. And what you're working on for the future may not have all the doors open yet, but you're going through the different layers, the different levels of what you're trying to grow to open up the doors and possibilities of where you want to take things. Well, we are making a massive pivot right now out of the world of web completely and into the world of podcasting, into the world of speaking, and into the world of idea camps, which is awesome. It's super cool, super exciting, but we don't have all the things worked out right now. One of the biggest things that we don't have worked out is how we're going to make money in the interim until these different concepts, until these different processes begin to generate revenue. So we're building things for the future. And it's very discouraging to go, I know where we're supposed to go. I know where we're going a year from now. But how do we survive for the next year as we build out speaking engagements, as we bring on corporate sponsors into the podcast? And how do we navigate the world of launching a first-time event where it doesn't have a track record and people don't know what it's going to mean to them? So right now I'm working through a lot of firsts. We've had sponsors on the podcast, and that's been awesome, but that's not a corporate sponsor, and we would love to get 3 of them right now. That's our goal, and that's what we're working towards. But to get that, we have to show a track record, increase our audience, which we've done a lot through being on radio now, and do all these different things so that we're more appealing to sponsors who want to get in front of the audience that we have. And then we have, of course, the speaking engagements, which is something that I've done in the past, with speaking at churches, speaking at business groups, speaking at some conferences. But again, it's creating a model, a business model around that to grow into where we're going for the future. And then, of course, idea camps is something we've been dreaming about for 4 or 5 years now. And we're super excited about where it's going. But we have to have that first one under our belt. We have to get that first experience where people go, I get it, I love it, I want to be a part of it. And we're building out all these different things. What does that mean? That means it is a massive journey of perseverance right now, from moving from where we've been and moving into where we're going. Now, I wish I could tell you that I have all the answers. I don't. I wish I could tell you that it's filled with excitement with no fear, but it's not. It's filled with excitement and lots of fear. I wish I could tell you that we had all of the answers on how we're funding and strategizing, making money off this, but I don't. And so for you, when you're in the journey of chasing dreams and ideas, it's easy for all of us to put on somebody else and say, look at how they have it all figured out. And the reality is that many of us don't. We just might be 2 or 3 or 5 steps ahead of you, and we know a little bit more than you, but you're still learning a lot too. We all need to realize we're in this together, and that we can't take on the successes of others against our own successes, that we can't judge ourselves against others. Our journey is going to be different from the next guy, and their journey is going to be different from the next guy. I was just talking to a friend over lunch about this, where we were talking about that whole jealousy thing, where it's like easy to look at somebody and you go, well, I put out a show that's just as good as them. I do all the work. I'm passionate about this. We're growing an audience. People are connecting with it. It's easy to then look at somebody else who seems to have it all together and judge them against ourselves, and then become jealous of them or feel like we're a failure and we don't measure up. But the reality is that they may have had other influencing factors that led to their success quicker, or that there's a lot of the story that we simply don't know in that journey. So no matter where you're at, if you're at the beginning stages, you're in the middle, or you have a $1 billion enterprise, you have to persevere because there are challenges every day and in every way of the things that you're doing. You have to keep on the course. You have to have a lifestyle of perseverance. Use that power of perseverance to keep on going to get through from where you are to where you're going. It's not easy, but it is worth that journey. So where do we go from here? How do we build the power of perseverance into our strategy as a business? We've talked about these other powers, and they're good. Community is super powerful, and that's actually part of perseverance. We've talked about adventure, and that's super powerful, but what happens when the adventure gets stale or boring or scary? We've talked about wonder and how wonder can be a superpower or boredom be a superpower. But what do you do when these things aren't enough? You have to step into the power of perseverance. You have to push into the uncomfortable feeling of the unknown and accepting the fact that it's going to be hard and you may still fail, but you have to persevere and push forward and further into the future you are creating. I want to give you a few tips to help you on this journey of perseverance and using the power of perseverance to move yourself forward. I've created a little list of 8 tips for using the power of perseverance to stay in a place that you're pushing into the future. Here you go. Step number 1, tip number 1. Set smaller goals that reinforce your larger vision. Find clarity on these mini goals and move forward. We call them micro experiments here at jumbleThink, but you may call them something else. Find those little places that you can go, this is the next step, that's the step after that, and you continue on the journey and utilize those mini goals on the journey. So how do you set up a mini goal? So let's say my goal is to launch a new tech company with an app. Well, step number 1 isn't necessarily to launch it to the world. Step number 1 might be to get a focus group around us and talk about the concept, talk about the ideas, get feedback and hone the idea. Now, what happens after you set that mini goal is that you come in and you have to celebrate the accomplishments. Along the journey, there are many mini victories and sometimes mega victories, big victories. And you need to celebrate those accomplishments. Often we breeze past them to push into the next thing, into the future. And in that, we don't use that power of celebration in what we're doing for perseverance. So you set the goals, step number 1. Step number 2, tip number 2 is celebrate the accomplishments. I always like to say when you celebrate the accomplishments, go big, even if it's a small victory. What I mean by that is that your celebration could be as simple as once we do the focus group and we get feedback, we're going to take the team out to dinner. Or it could be once we hit X milestone, we're going to take a 2-day vacation. Or once we do X amount of dollars in revenue, we're going to go out and spend some of the profits on a new car or whatever it is. And so you need to celebrate those accomplishments to scale of what the goal is and the win that you have. And I think that you should celebrate big and then use those memories of the goal and the win to remind you as you're going through the journey, hey, we're not a failure. Look at this victory. Might not be the end victory that we've been longing for, but look at this victory. And celebrate that in your memory, even once you're past and you're in the hardship of the idea. So when you're down, look back at these victories, look at these mini goals that you've accomplished, and re-celebrate them, revisit them to encourage you. I have great friends that have journals, and they use journals throughout their life to then remind them of other seasons. If they're going through a great time, they'll look back at the hard time and celebrate the fact that the hard time led them to the great time. If they're in a bad time, they'll look back at the great victories that they've had in their journal, and then they will celebrate those to encourage them in the darkness of where they're at in the journey. So that's tip number 1 and 2. Number 3 is to maintain enthusiasm or optimism. You have to stay positive in this journey, and it's very easy to be discouraged, whether it's by taking on somebody else's victory, whether it's feeling like you're a failure, whatever it is for you, you need to get back into a place to be positive again, which seems hard to do. But one of the ways that you can do that is to simply get people around you. You can get amazing people, your family, your friends that are your cheerleaders. They want you to succeed. They want you to do well, and let them help you stay positive, enthusiastic, and excited about the idea. Sometimes you need to step away from the idea for a day or two to recharge, and then come back and you have that optimism and enthusiasm and excitement for the idea again. So that's actually 2 more tips: maintain optimism and enthusiasm. And the other tip is to get people around you. Okay, so that's tips 1 through 4. Let's go through tips 5 through 8. Tip number 5, stay focused and work hard. It is easy to get distracted, especially when things are going bad. I know I deal with this, and you begin to shut down and you're not making forward progress. You have to stay focused on the goal and where you're going. You can't get into this place where depression creeps in and it keeps you down. There are moments where you feel like a failure. You take those moments, you feel them, make them real, but move on quickly. There are moments where you feel depressed, but figure out ways to bring that enthusiasm back. So stay focused. And then the second part of that, which is tip number 6, is to work hard. It's easy to have dreams and goals, and when things are going well, to kind of sit back, but you got to push in even harder when they're going really good. And then when things are going bad, it's easy to shut down and just not feel like you can do it. They say that procrastination, one of the biggest motivators, is emotional state. It's you don't feel like you can do it. You don't feel like you're up to it. You don't feel excited about it. So get back into that headspace where you can stay focused. Part 1. Part 2, work hard. The next tip number 7, is when you feel like giving up, which you will feel like giving up, when you feel like everything's failed, do one more thing. It's easy to just give up, but if you go, I just have this one more step to take, then you can step into that one more step. You can push a little bit further into it. And sometimes that's all you need to reset and move into the new future that you're trying to create. If that one thing doesn't work, but you're feeling a little bit more positive, do a second more thing. And then a third more thing. That process of saying, well, I just have to do one more thing, pushes you further. We see this in exercise and workout and all of that, where your coach goes, hey, you just have 1 more mile. And it turns out that they're like, well, you had 5 more, but that's what you needed, is just 1 more mile. You get past that 1 more mile. You just have 1 more mile. And you get past that mile. You just have 1 more mile. And you continue on this journey of evolving the process of perseverance, where you're hitting those little strides. So do one more thing when you feel like you're stuck, when you feel like giving up, when you feel like you're a failure, and let that reset you. Now, one of the most important steps, and this is tip number 8, is to get rest and take care of yourself. Often when we're chasing big ideas and dreams, we wear ourselves thin. We push ourselves to the limit, and in that, we burn ourselves out. I've done it. I think everyone in entrepreneurship that I know has done it. You have to step away and you have to get rest. That may mean that instead of going to bed at midnight every night and waking up at 5 or 6, that you're like, you know what, I'm going to go to bed at 10, and I'm going to wake up at 8, and I'm going to get recharged. This especially becomes more important when you have family. I know for me that family is one of my favorite things. But to be present for my family, I have to be well rested, because then I can treat them better. And for you, whether you have a family or whether you're just in a business, which is perfectly fine, and you're getting to a place of being burnt out, you will be a jerk to those around you, whether it's your family, whether it's your team, whether it's your friends. So you need to get that rest and take care of yourself. So the tips. Tip number 1, set mini goals, clarify, move forward. Step number 2, or tip number 2, celebrate accomplishments. Tip number 3, maintain optimism, maintain enthusiasm. Step Tip number 4 is get people around you. Tip number 5 is stay focused. Tip number 6, work hard. Tip number 7, do one more thing when you're ready to give up. And tip number 8, get rest and take care of yourself. In a moment, we'll be back to conclude today's episode. We would love to hear your stories about how you're chasing big ideas and dreams. We'd love to hear if JumbleThink's encouraged you on that journey of turning those dreams and ideas into reality. You can drop us an email, hello@jumblethink.com, or head on over to jumblethink.com, click that contact button, and drop us a note. Now let's jump back into our final segment as we conclude today's episode. In today's episode, we've been talking all about the power of perseverance and turning those dreams and ideas into reality. I want to encourage you now, it's your turn to take these tips and take these lessons to apply them to your own journey. If you are feeling like it's time to give up, reach out. Start the conversation with a friend or a family member. Find a great coach or mentor. Even reach out to us. I would love to start that conversation to talk about how it's not time to give up on those dreams and ideas, but you can push into creating the future you've always desired. Perseverance is that powerful tool that allows you to unlock a future that is not easy to come by. Many people give up way too early in the pursuit of making things that they've always longed to create a reality. So don't give up too early. Keep persevering, keep pushing in, keep on going on this journey, and eventually you will see that breakthrough. Now it's your turn. You have to choose if you want to make that dream and idea a reality. And the best way to do that, well, is to do the work, to push into it and keep persevering until you see the results you're longing for. So I want you to think about that today. How can you push into the places that you've given up on in your own life? How can you continue on this journey to make that a reality? Take those steps. Be really proactive about coming up with a plan for the future and push into the future that you want to create. Push into the dreams that you've given up on. Resurrect them again so that you can see the future you were destined to create. We believe you were created for something awesome, so it's your turn. Get out there, dream big, and change the world around you. Thanks again for tuning in to JumbleThink today. I hope it's encouraged you on that journey, your journey of chasing big ideas and dreams. Our guest on Tuesday's episode is Adrian Schmidt. He is the co-founder and CEO of Bouquet. They're creating a cool product called Aristotle, which turns voice into a powerful tool to interpret data. It is a very fun episode talking about AI, talking about innovation, talking about entrepreneurship. I think you're going to love it, so make sure to check out Tuesday's episode with Adrian Schmidt. If you haven't already, we encourage you, head on over to wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe to the JumbleThink podcast. If you are a fan of iTunes or Apple Podcasts, head on over to jumblethink.com/iTunes. And for Spotify, jumblethink.com/Spotify. Thanks again for tuning in. Now it's your turn. Dream big, chase those dreams and ideas, and change the world around you.
Vous devez écouter ce disque plusieurs fois pour bien en comprendre le mécanisme. Pourtant, il n'est qu'un commencement. Nous avons voulu en faire connaître la force. Vous verrez comment un simple disque peut aller plus loin que vous ne l'auriez imaginé. Mettez-vous dans une tenue légère. Ôtez tout ce qui peut vous gêner ou tirer votre attention. Cherchez la meilleure position. Les bras et les jambes légèrement espacés. sur les côtés. Vous êtes une autre personne. Les mères de famille, les enfants, peuvent également prendre un moment revitalisant. Dans quelques mois, lorsque vous aurez bien saisi la technique et que vous serez maître de votre corps, vous pourrez vous décontracter même en travaillant.